All right, it's Christmas Day. I tweeted last night, upset with this hacker and all this other stuff, how to fizz all things and all this other stuff, and even like how to make a bomb out of a, quantum tunnel. Effectively, it's a hydrogen, right? But it's like it's not really a Bose-Einstein condensate. It does transition to that, but I'm going to talk about it. So it's like this is baryonic to fermionic fusion, which is something that actually hasn't been done before, but it's been theorized to happen for, I don't know, about 5 years or something. Anyways, so I'm going to talk about this while I'm trying to get my espresso recipe kind of down because it's like, well, people don't really maybe know why this works. It's effectively like cold fusion, right? It's like, okay, so I did a vague thing of a laser pump, and it's like, if you don't know anything about like what the hell that would mean, and of course you're not going to fucking get why this would work, and you just say it's bullshit and they'd be doing it or some other crap tastic that shows off that you're fucking retarded and you think you know things. But it's like, it's okay because you're probably not a quantum physicist. I'm not, right? I just dabble here and there. But it's like, all right, so when you're undergoing, which by the way, this is the reason why is like hydrogen doesn't want to become baryonic. So when you become hydrogen that's in a liquid state, then you pressurize it and then you, of course, vibrate it through itself. And that means you're kind of compressing it again, but you're not really. You're turning it into a sort of ish super positional kind of state. It's sort of ish because it's like you're not really. You're trying to turn it into Bose-Einstein. But while you're doing that, you're also wiggling it in such a way that it doesn't know that this other thing is there while it's in a Bose-Einstein. And as it does that, it condenses and becomes baryonic. That's why it does that. You probably didn't know that. That's okay. Most people won't ever really need to know anything about stuff like that in life, but that's why it does that. Then the laser light is effectively another version of the same thing. It's like a liquid light kind of thing that I was talking about a little earlier before I started this recording. But that's effectively what it is. So, but it's not really. Okay, so it's going to go through, but it creates a ordering of sorts. But it's not really an ordering. Okay. And the reason why I say this is because it's introducing energy, right? But we're actually trying to create a compression and a condensing, compressing and condensing of this matter. But it starts to act an awful lot like it's all one ginormous hydrogen atom, which you can't do, of course, because it's not really one, but it thinks it is, sort of, right? Anyways, it doesn't really matter. The point is, in that moment, as you effectively allow for the light to pass through it the right way, it then turns into more of a liquidy state and it becomes more superpositional, hard-ish in a way. And then it collapses its own state into a entangled moment together with the electron orbit field that are there and present. As it starts to transition from a big monohydrogen, baryonic, it turns into a fermionic. So that fermionic then goes through a filter of sorts that the light is going to have to pass through. But the light doesn't like that, and it's moving, and it has a given type of information of, velocity, light speed, right? And of course, it's passing through this and it's interacting with it. Given the vibrations that we're talking about here and the type of light that we'd have to have, it's more in the realm of like ultraviolet and microwave kind of stuff. And then as it collapses and to its fermionic, as you're not going to let go of the pressure. See, this is the reason why the light's sort of so important, right? You're going to effectively run a type of current through it, kind of like wireless charging. And so while that happens, you're ripping out and then pulling a lot of the electrons in such a way that makes it so as it drops out, it starts to turn into a filtered, more likely to become tunneled state, and it then tunnels into a bunch of helium atoms all at once, right? if you get it done really, really well. Theoretically, that's what that would be. But of course, nothing's perfect and blah, blah, blah with chaotic and non ordering and like, oh my God, I'm suddenly attached to this thing and oh, my electron, is moving kind of stuff, right? But, anyways, the quantum information of where this original other hydrogen used to be starts to get attached to where the light photon is. And then the movement of this electron and the result of fields that are there that are made as a result of this start to drop out, and quantum information becomes more made to tunnel. That's the tunnel part. So the quantum information is effectively turned into that hydrogen. So like that hydrogen is made to turn into quantum information, but the photon isn't quantum information. It's an actual thing. But it's like, no, no, no. I'm going to suddenly become an actual hydrogen. But it's like, no, because I can't be that. So now I'm helium, actually. I can't be that close to this nucleus of this other hydrogen, right? And that's the filtered state, and that's the dropout tunnel. And so it does quantumly tunnel, but it doesn't really, it really more converts itself, which is like kind of like consuming combustion sort of thing. Like it took energy during that phase transition and transformed it into a probability and a conversion of this given tunnel moment for this nucleus and these electrons to now suddenly appear. During that, of course, I want an electron. During this, I need my electron to come back, kind of stuff happens, right? And so light then undergoes its own moment of, well, I can't turn into an electron, but I can do something different. As that is going to try and decay, I can then use that instead of splitting off into a photon, because I'm already here. I've now made it more probabilistic for it to turn into an electron, right? Except I can't really exist in two places at once. Because, electrons don't like to do that, right? Whole thing. So, quantum information goes, well, I already had this electron over here. And just because it's over here doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't effectively still mean that it's a part of this new nucleus, which isn't really like a nucleus. You know what I mean? Like it's like, well, where did it get this neutron and then all these quarks and all this other stuff? And it's like, right. See, that's the thing. It didn't do anything but move the information. It broke itself down into information, and then it basically converted photons into becoming the particles that is that. That's the tunnel moment. So it got energy from somewhere, from the phase transition, but also the light that's there. And then turns into the hydrogen, but now it actually can't really be hydrogen. So it then turns into helium because it's one big one, right? Of course, it's not a perfect, it's very close. And so it then tries to squeeze itself, but then, of course, bounding of conservation of momentum. And that's the reason why it's a Lemke principle. Okay, like quantum information tunneling and then converting something into particles, quarks, neutrons, all that is a Lemke principle. That's the physics that make this a thing. Now, it does this fine, whatever, but I don't really care about it that much. It's a real, like, who cares, essentially, because I've had it on my YouTube channel for a while. I just haven't described this specific type of thing, right? But for me, it's like, okay, so the information is fine. Uh, it does ultimately expand rapidly. It produces a massive blast, but like, it's really gonna sink most of it to within a meter of distance outside of the initial fusion event. And while it's a very high efficiency fusion, you know, eh, it's that's not what it was for. Like what I did it for back in the day for my original like shower concept video or something. It was like I need to create for like intergalactic engines, a quasi particle fusion reactor that takes quantum vacuum virtual to quasis to hydrogens. And I need to figure out how to do that properly. But then I also need to be able to do this in a way better, more efficient manner. And I need to have a better, like, because neutron degeneracy, or not degeneracy pressure, but neutron degradation over time for like the fusion reactor, which isn't really a fusion reactor, but it's essentially a fusion rocket engine. We'll eat it away at it, and I don't like that. So it's like I need to learn how to get something that basically starts to reflect it without becoming mountains of lead or nickel or something. So I needed to learn how to, and I was looking at the structure of graphite. I was like, well, graphite's cool and everything, but can I get like a stabilized isotope of plutonium or something? Can I get UUQ in here? I need stabilized UUQ with like an isotope of. And so that's what I made it for. Like I made it specifically to make stable matter that's very, very dense that would then match up and interlock in between itself in these layers like graphene, sheets. And then I was able to like puzzle piece it together. And the only real way to do that was to kind of make something like this occur. So I was like, all right, well, I'll just engineer this. This makes totally every bit my like easy. This is simple. This isn't hard. This isn't in anything like not doable. I mean, they've been able to make bespoke atoms and they force particle accelerators or whatever, but it's like, well, the way they're doing it is like this. Yeah, no, but like but this is their technique, and so their technique is like this good mostly because of this idea of probabilistical and distance and why don't you just like condense it and then have it pop back out and they're right next to each other, and then all you have to do is force them through a given field that only allows for them to essentially do what it is you want them to do, like a filter. So it's like just do that. So it's like that's what I did and that's what I do in all of my designs. But it was to make an intergalactic fusion engine, rocket engine, to make quantum vacuum pressure turn into hydrogen, and eventually get my other, because I'd start with a given amount of actual hydrogen, right, and then that'll start that up, and then once I get going, like and the faster you go, the more vacuum pressure becomes easier to capture essentially, because well, that's a relativistic thing, but you're also filtering it through more of space and time, and it tends to curve and elongate the whole thing. Anyways, it just becomes more efficient, effectively, and then the kinetic is transferred more easily into something that you can use as a slow down and resistive, like an eddy current, versus like a speed up acceleration, which is more difficult. Which means I can fuse it more easily. Anyways, I was like, all right, well, and then the enriching fissile material was super simple. It was in the middle or the beginning of the early 2000s, but it was in an actual textbook, like a nuclear physics textbook, right? That was given to people in college for a long time. And then they had to recall it because some dude patented it, and it was like, no, it's mine now. And then now they're not allowed to have it. It's been out there for a really long time. Like it's not that bad. This one's just a like slight spin on it, effectively, because it's like, well, now you can vapor deposit and use less energy overall, and you can do it even on small scales, and you can enrich it as you would want, effectively, and make very pico-sized nuclear reactors if you so chose, and micro and nano stuff. So that way it's like, well, I can really heavily enrich and then, very, finitely place it and then make a cool reactor. But for me, it's like, if you were going to try and make a bomb, I'm sure they would probably find your ass. So fuck you, effectively, is what that really was. You know what I mean? And then same thing with this, like, oh yeah, you totally know what I'm talking about for this given type of bomb that I'm giving you. That's basically cold fusion. You're probably a quantum scientist or fusion or physicist or something, right? And in reality, it's like you're probably not, and you know nothing about what it is I'm talking about, but you probably are fairly smart in whatever regard you are smart in, but not on this. Anyways, after it undergoes a chaotic transformation, a lot of, soupy things start happening. And helium's stuck together, but then, quarks and fields like to pop up thanks to the high levels of acceleration and energy. There's some degree of fusion energy that starts to occur as the acceleration then is like a particle accelerator, bomb effectively into a given like meter of distance. But after that, it really can't fuse anything because it's nitrogen and oxygen. Right, so it's like it's really not like that big of a deal, right? The majority of it's got no actual like radiation at all. It destructively interferes gamma rays and produces a big radio wave burst and a little bit of ultraviolet at most. Most of it's natural stuff, right? And IR and so on. And it's supposed to be used because I used it this way for that very reason as a very safe way to effectively make something um, fuse together, like with a lot less energy. Like that's the whole reason why I did it. I was like, I needed to learn how to, I needed to make, not learn. I needed to make very bespoke atoms and materials. And so it was like, well, there's got to be a fucking way to do this that isn't going to be terrible and insanely expensive and ridiculously annoying to be like done. And I needed to be insanely consistent and accurate and precise, like with relatively no like need to care. Like it's like a printer head, you know what I mean? Like I barely calibration, just like slap it together and it works. I need it to be easy as fuck to make and do. And so that's what I did. I was like, well, this is the easiest way to do this. This is literally we have particle accelerators already. Like this is super actually that easy. It's just cooling it, which is like that's laser stuff. You know what I mean? That's like a given type of not fictional, instead like frictional, like thermodynamic, which means pressure difference, which is like a Joule's Thomson. So from small to, and that's a vacuum. You would want the vacuum pressure anyways, because it allows for you in a given space and area to have more control over your given particle or whatever it is with, simple electromagnetics and electrostatics and Z pinches. And then you can corral them using lasers, and that's a force push, but then also that allows for you to tailor the type of tunnel or type of filtration or type of likely probability of combination that you're looking for and where you want it to come out and when you want it to come out. So it's like, this is super easy. I can easily make this. This is not hard. This isn't hard at all. So, but apparently it's super hard to some people. But I'm like, I don't know why. It doesn't seem that hard. Seems really easy, truthfully. I don't get it. But that's another reason why it's like, no, this is a really cool advance. This is top secret. I mean, it's technically top secret. I mean, the way I'm telling you to do it is a vapor deposition that they've been doing pretty much as on the top secret. Like for what it's worth, it's an ionic pump. Like if you look at the video I have on my Twitter, which is where that was, like tweeted about this, then it's like it's a vacuum pump, yeah, but it's also not just a vacuum pump. Like during a vacuum pump, you're able to selectively vapor and take off the uranium and then separate it using distilling density methods, allow for the Z pinch to deposit higher isotopes, heavier isotopes, and then filter onto it as well carbon or nickel or even just lesser heavier isotopes and enrich it as you would like to. And it's been around for a really really long time. It's not that bad. It's just like, but that specific way is essentially really hyper efficient and is technically top secret. Like that is right, but it's also really super cheap and easily done and doable because most of that's open source if you know where to look, and it doesn't take as much as you would imagine to actually do it. But it's like, I'm sure that you will look for that or something. I don't really care. Doesn't matter to me. I don't care at all. I don't give a fuck. But like, people would probably debate my ass all day long about this blah 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 confusion and this guy doesn't know anything. And I'm like, yada yada, blah 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 blah, with this douche fuck that thinks he knows something. And it's like, let me just go get some actual quantum physicists over here. So, this is literally what your quantum field theory states is a thing that I'm doing, right? Yeah. Okay. So then, and you converted one of your electrons into something else, and then you had your electron go back after it went backwards in time or something, right? Like that fucking stupid article. And like, you can theoretically get energy from the quantum vacuum, says this guy in Japan, right? It's on my stream. Like, honestly, I went over the articles. It's back in the day. But they're like, no, it's time and blah blah. I'm like, no, it's conservation of information, you stupid clod. You know what I mean? Like, can you stop that? But it's like, debate, discuss. You need to use my these tons and eon and the field of wheels and this spinny one and phase gamma thing. And I'm like, blah 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 blah. I don't care. Shut up. If you want me to go through school, put me through school. I'll learn it. Like, I already know the basics of what you're going to try and drill into me for 8 years, which is the logical, you know, thing that it is that you're trying to drill into me. Like, all I need to do is just learn whatever fucking stupid words are that make you, effectively agree with me. You know what I mean? That's what it would be. And then it's like, here's a bunch of algebra or whatever fuck, and then I have a theory. I posited it. It's like the blah 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 gravity modification or whatever this is, and maybe now gravity is like not a thing. I saw this article. I was like, what the fuck is this? Gravity's not a thing now? Okay, whatever. Meanwhile, thermodynamics doesn't exist apparently somehow. I just want to remove thermodynamics now. Entropy isn't even a thing. Just go fuck yourself, entropy, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, if you get rid of gravity, that's literally what the fuck it is you're doing. Like, space time, no. Einstein, all of our fucking tests, bye bye. What the fuck? Constants, go out of the way. Fundamental force, fuck yourselves, I guess. You know what I mean? If that's what it is, but it's like, whatever. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird after a while. It's like they're throwing shit at the wall, see what sticks, it seems. Anyways, that's effectively what it is. It's a forced baryonic Bose-Einstein that starts to get more and more condensed as it undergoes an expansionary phase transition, but it's not really going to be able to do that. It then undergoes what is essentially a quantum information conversion for some of it that effectively makes it into a helium, because then the information deposits itself as a tunnel moment into the nearby nucleus of another hydrogen. And while it does that, then it goes, oh shit, I'm way too dense. There's no fucking way you could hold me this close together. You know what I mean? And I'm already expanding outwards. Oh, by the way, what did you just do to me? I'm supposed to be very excited during that moment. And I'm moving a bunch of nucleuses and electrons everywhere, and just throw a dart at the wall for like whatever numbers of fields are suddenly going to be like. And then same thing with quarks that are temporarily going to be there, and then like they're gone, or they're now this, or shit like that. It's thrown out everywhere effectively. And so it's like there's a bunch of energy to be had, but the thing is like it existed temporarily as a magnetar. This is what I'm letting people know, but it's like it's real brief, and it maybe 3 inches at most, like realistically, outside of like the little ball that it existed in. and then it collapses inwards as it expands because it can't be a magnetar for that long, right? But it's like magnetic fields travel as fast as the speed of light, which is faster than it is going to, travel. But that also means it converts that magnetic field as it's moving through it, as it's collapsing towards it, into a bunch of chaotic, also get the hell away from me, momenta, thermal momenta, right? So it like goes really fast, tries to accelerate really, really hard, really fast. And that's one of the reasons why it's like, right. And then with like in a meter or something at most, like realistically, I would literally not even go past a foot, but I suppose it could, within after a foot up to like 3 meters, the most of it, the vast majority of it will just become like a very extraordinarily high yield efficiency fusion bomb, which is why I said it's like the size of Pakistan, because like, well, that hacker wanted to try and go after Pakistan, and I'm like, hey, there you go, government, go after that fuckface, get the fuck out of here, dicks. Yeah, here's looking at you, Pakistan. I don't know if you're an ally or whatever, but like, I'm sure you don't want that. It's a manifesto. He's been like building up bombs and shit. It's a whole thing. I don't want to get into it. They have chatter or whatever in certain bot room chats and so on. It's all whatever. I don't care. Point is, it's like after a while here, I just got bored because it was like, well, here's a way to make micro reactors and nano and pico reactors, but also here's a way to make like really easily done fusion, but then at the same time it's not exactly as simple as that. Like, if you want to make it like what I'm talking about, I have like literal like designs on my YouTube channel that are specified for that, but they're like really small individual, they're really high yield and high energy, kind of like a 90% conversion, like a piezoelectric, sure, but they're which is great, right? It's above the Q value, right? That's what I'm trying to tell you. But the reason why is because it's like, it essentially can't be done in a large scale. You can't make like a big tokamak reactor. There's no building this big. Okay, like it's stupidly explosive. Right, like that's what the problem is I have with it. It's like it wants to explode. It doesn't really do anything except that. Right. And so you can get away with like very little once you get it up and running, and then that's all you need. Like, you don't need anything more than that. Right. And that's great. Leave it there, right? Like, literally, right? Otherwise, it turns into, why did you want to do that? I need, what did you fucking say? That's decillion watt hours, douche. Do you know that's not possible? I don't think you're fucking in your right mind anymore. Get out of here. Out. This is a bomb. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want a bomb. Right? So, but it's supposed to be very, very low neutron generation. That's the point of it. Like, it's supposed to be a low neutron generation technique. That's the reason why I made it. Right? So it's like, I don't have to worry about things breaking themselves down as much over time, and they can be powered in a very small like design. That means it can run for a really, really long time, which is great. That's the reason why I did it, versus like, I'm gonna I didn't want to do it for my fusion engine, right? My intergalactic, because after a point it was like, well, why the fuck am I doing this? What am I doing here? Quantum vacuum pressure clearly has like a decent amount of fucking energy. If I could just slip into this. And so initially it was like, well, how the fuck do I, and then eventually got to inertial acceleration, and eventually got to quantum vacuum pressure acceleration, which eventually turned into, I got faster than light, but I'm not really going into any pocket dimension. I'm effectively riding the membrane, and I'm acting like I'm a super fluid that goes through, space and time, that's slipping through it, but then like space and time now has so much more pressure than we do, and so it pushes us and we slip through. Now you'll have to go through a whole bunch of that on my YouTube channel, but that's the reason why it's a Lemke principle. That's another Lemke principle. There's a lot of Lemke laws and Lemke principles on my YouTube channel for what it's worth. They're named after me, not some other Lemke that's a quantum or theoretical physicist. There's no one else but me doing this. Just like I tweeted, so just me, Xenon reality, you know. But anyways, it's like all of that works, by the way. But the problem is, it's like, no, I need you to come to my theoretical physics class. I need you to get my certificate. I need you to go spend this thousands and thousands of dollars you don't have. I need you to take out loans in my goodness, your name, and then. And are you able to work on any of the things that you're talking about that makes it so you can learn and you can pay attention and actually give a fuck about what you're looking at? No. This is never going to work for you. Why do they do this? What's the point of the professor again? To explain stuff mostly? I could just go fucking work on this. If I'm going to spend money, why don't I just go work on one of these designs and then have like a fucking assistant that goes, oh yes, this is what you're talking about. And this is the math that you need to do. It's just like, hey, whatever, insert AI here. Tell me about this. Please don't do that. Like, I spent a lot of money learning how to teach others. But it's like, you understand where I come from after a while. It's like, you're a system that's broken. It's been that way for a really long time. Like, that's the problem. Like, the system is genuinely broken. It's clear that some people like myself aren't ever going to learn that way and could easily surpass what it is that you're at, right? And I'm going to spend how much for hundreds or thousands of dollars and for what? Like this opportunity of this? I don't give a fuck about you. To use your very expensive for no fucking reason, it seems like to me, the machines? Why? And to learn how to operate them, it doesn't seem that difficult. To know about your lingo and your given field of study, again, I could probably just go learn that somewhere else. Know the math, it's like, okay, sure, again, same thing somewhere else. I could probably do that. And after a while, it's like, then what the fuck are, but see, the thing is I love a professor. I love actually socializing and everything, in terms of that as well with other, peers. Right. And it's like, hey, if I need help, right? And it's like, hey, class, we're going to work on this. We're going to do these kinds of things. And we're all going to work, you know what I mean? And like, hey, and like somewhat independent, but then also you got to, and this is what it's mostly going to deal with, right? And like, that's what programming classes essentially, right? Like programming classes kind of do that. Makes sense, right? And it's like, yeah. It's like, yeah, right? But it's like, yeah, but not that. I'm gonna listen to a person drone on as I sit in this fucking stupid chair about some bullshit on a fucking whiteboard or some chalkboard or some shit I don't give a fuck about. It's like, it's never gonna make it so I pay attention. It's like, look, I've got a thingy that goes brr. Yeesh. It did the booms. Great. You got moles. Ah, shit. Meanwhile, there's like a fucking missing stadium somewhere. We have no idea how this happened. Oh, goodness gracious, no. Meanwhile, I'm on my hang glider, like I just recorded, going over to New York now. In my airship hang glider. I was never there. It will come back. This isn't funny. There was no one around. I didn't think it'd be that big. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. What? It was just supposed to be getting cussed out. It's only how would I have known? It was like it was my first try. How would I know it would have been like 99% efficient? It's it doesn't. It's not fair. You, okay, well, how would I have known? I mean, I only had like 100 milligrams there, so I don't see what the issue is. I do. I don't see what the issue is here. Oh, talk to them. I'm not coming down. You can't make me. I'm gonna live in my spacesuit up in the upper atmosphere now. Damn it, Limke! I'm not doing it. You guys are gonna put me in jail or something. You have anything up there? Just a lot of food and water. Why? I'm making the air turn into food. Calories, baby. Who gave him food? It's not really. I mean, it's mostly just that I turned my shit into compost and soil, and I had some soil, and there's some water. I collect it, and there's some stuff going on. You can't live like that forever. I can absolutely do that. I have more than enough here for basically ever. I'm not even kidding. It'd take like 150 years for it to fully deplete itself of nutrients. You're This is stupid. I have more than enough energy. I'm over international waters and air. You can't do anything. Leave me alone. Just please, I want to arrest you. Fuck off. What's the statute of limitations on this? I looked it up. I only have to wait about 20 years. Fucking bitch. Oh, okay, fine. Anyways, that's how I imagine I would probably try and get away from it. Like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to deal with this. It was an accident, really, honestly. I didn't think it'd be that fucking. It's just underneath the stadium was where the freaking experiment thing is. It literally was like 100 milligrams. Fuck off, man. You know, you guys suck. We're pulling for you. Yeah, solidarity in the fucking cloud kingdom here. We're doing airship country now. We're gonna make our own stuff and we're gonna sell it. We're gonna have a GDP. We're gonna have rules. It's gonna be a whole thing. We have soil, sovereign soil that we take with us everywhere. This isn't shit. We are part of the air nomad kingdom, airship nation. Oh yeah. Let's get her done. This is bullshit. I am a legitimate country. I have land. What are you gonna do? I have a GDP. We have manufacturing. We have rules. We have all the things that we need to be considered a country. Okay. It took 5 years to get here. It's the stupidest thing. It's a little bit stupid, but it's working. I'm not gonna. No, you're not. You're trying to get away from. I'm running for president in my own country. We're not going to. I have diplomatic immunity now. You're fucking such a dick. It's faster in 20 years, I'll tell you that much. It's true, though. It's faster in 20 years. Okay. Dual citizenship. You'd be. Look at me. You're going to space a lot now. How the fuck did you get there? Oh, that's a whole thing. Yeah, I'm not gonna get into that. That's country secret stuff. Can't tell you. You will dress me on my airship level, okay? To get into an airship. This is only fair. This is a thing. This is fair, okay? He does have nukes though. The guy, fucking holy hell! Shut up over there. I'm thinking. Guys, can we not fucking. I don't want to do that. We have to say that, though. So, yes, it's a wonderful nation. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I think so. We have a lot of great water. Super good water, you know? Okay. It's a little chilly. You get used to it, you know, after a while. But you're right, it is a bit chilly. Why are you standing? Oh, connected a lot of airships together. It just floats now. We'd like more water, please. Are you sure? Okay, well, I mean, yeah, how much you want for it? Is what you should probably ask, right? Uh, Secret water talks, rain, certain areas, we go and dump it down. They get great fucking, farm, and you know what I mean? It's good stuff, right? Yeah. Very nutritious rain, too. Yeah. That'd go a long way, truthfully, yeah. You know me. I'm coming back to the site of where it all began. I'm sorry. I have to apologize. I'm not allowed to come down, obviously. This was really bad. It sank a crater, really broke everything underground. And the stadium, of course, everybody loves the footballs. Crumbled, but then now, like a phoenix, it rose bigger than ever before. Some would say it was flaccid, and now it's quite erect. That is for sure. Using my nice airship technology, I am here to place the very new foundations of this stadium and dome down. I hope this will be a end of this terrible moment between us and building of a new fostering of trust between both of us. I used to be your professor. Yeah, well, now I'm like president of Airship Nation, so just I don't know what to tell you. I didn't want to go to jail. Yes, thank you so much, sir. It's what it is, you know. It's actually really nice though, for what it's worth. It's just pretty cool. Can I come back and finish my degree? I did all of this. Does this count for something? Oh, I don't. God damn it. Look at my honorary stuff. It's not seen as the equivalent. I don't like this. I don't care. I'm a fucking president of a ginormous nation now. This is really actually pretty frustrating. Yeah. Really? That was not what my intention was to start with. You know what I mean? Anyways, back to like not, doing a whole scenario and bit. We're gonna go back into like, so this is, yeah, I don't know. Like I want to, and I know that they would love to effectively allow for me to do that, to be able to learn, but that's how I learn. I don't learn with homework and like reading a textbook or listening to something like that. If I can actually use it for something, I'll be able to learn. And for what it's worth, we've known this for fucking ever, practically since the beginning of school started, really. Like a lot of people are really pretty good at learning that way. Like it's instead of like it's a rote memorization, I applied this thing consistently, and then it's like practice to where it's like now I understand that for these things I have to do that, and that's geometry, that's trigonometry, that's physics, that's thermodynamics. There's it's like so many programming things too. It's everywhere. You know what I mean? And it's like people were always telling me I didn't learn practically anything. I made friends in college, right? And I got opportunities from that. But when I finally got a job, that's when I actually learned, or when I started doing something as a hobby, that's when I actually learned what it was I was doing and what I was taught. And it finally clicked. And so, like for me, it's like, what am I doing it for other than just to learn some names of things and theorize this is stuff or what we've seen so far, which is just a body of work that I could just call to. You know what I mean? Like it's like an encyclopedia. Yeah, it's like this is what the given, current all of our understanding points towards, or what it is, or so on, right? And like then you get a PhD in this area that you're hoping to put into for that given part of the encyclopedia, and then you have to defend it rigorously. And it's like I don't know, man. It doesn't seem like it's that like big of a deal to have one. To still be logical, to still be intelligent, to still know what it is that you're saying, even if other people don't agree. Just because it's like, well, you're making it sound so big and like you know things, and like you can know things without needing to do what you've done. This is the problem I have with a lot of people that are in that as well. They say they're open minded, they say they're scientists, they say they're whatever it is, but then they act like that. And self-taught people still exist. Sometimes people are like me that are just ridiculously good, right, at just figuring things out. Just thinking really hard about a lot of shit because it's like, well, I wanted to do this for this thing that I had, for a goal, whatever it was. It was like, well, I need to make an intergalactic engine. All right, let me fucking, and it's like I'm gonna get into material design. And material design is basically just quantum physics. What? Yeah, pretty much. Okay, well, this is starting to look an awful lot like this, just swapped. What about this classical stuff? Data set? Causal set? This is thermal fluid dynamics in a given, like, linear fashion. But you're not even taking into cloud probabilities of, like, dimensional aspects of influence over given periods of time. And it's like, I really did do that. It was like, what is this? Why didn't you? And then there's multiple dimensional aspects of influence here, which is just fluid thermodynamics and given types of other dynamics. Effectively, it's a bunch of dynamics. It's fundamental force dynamics, which is why I ended up coining that term after a while. It's just fundamental force dynamics. Even gravity, like take it, leave it, doesn't matter. Even entropy's in there, so it's just like whatever. After a point, it is just like, well, this is easy. This doesn't seem that hard. What's hard about this? And then it was like, behold, my cool new material. I made it doing these things. And you're like, that's insanely likely to be possible. But no, you're stupid. You didn't do, and you don't have, and this. And so you can't possibly. Meanwhile, me, bird, 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 bird. Look at me, continue doing this thing that you said I couldn't do. Suck it up. Don't care. I literally don't. Fart yourself out of here. Literally don't care. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't care what you think about me. I really don't. Most likely you're a person that's really good for this, but that's it. I'm not like that. You know what I mean? And like, you're really sure. Shut up. Don't you? That was what I was gonna say about you. And I'm like, but no, okay, like that's not really how that works for me. You know what I mean? Like, I can pretty much learn anything to such a degree and so well and so quickly that I don't usually do anything other than just look at it and then brute force it. I almost never really try and deep dive into something because it's like, well, this is a bunch of lame ways to describe, you know what I mean? Like I posted it for the Lolly 4chan post, but it's like, this is a person trying to sound impressive. The one I'm going after and responding to. It's like, look at this droning on professor that's trying to get to a point eventually. Look at this. It's just I got the thesaurus out and I sound impressive now. Meanwhile, I break it down what they're actually saying. And it's like, you're not impressive. This has been seen for fucking decades. Oh, wow, you woke up to it when we've known about it for thousands, really, if we're being honest, of years. Because kingdoms still existed doing the same thing. That were not in any way capitalistic, but effectively were the same thing. But man, big words make you sound cool, huh? It's like, I really don't care when it comes down to it. It's like, no, you don't get it. You're a bunch of people that love to just say things that sound big, but they're break it down. This is what this really means. That's all that is. I really don't care what you fucking say for a while. Like, I really don't. You're not impressive. You're not important in that sense at all. Like, if you can't fucking say it easily and describe it easily for a bunch of people to easily understand, then who gives a fuck what the hell you're saying? If I have to interpret to other people what it is that you're trying to get across, you're an idiot. You know what I mean? Like, just get over yourself, you pretentious fuck. Just shut up. That's what it is. It's the same thing when I look at quantum physics and engineering and science and more. It's a bunch of fucking massive words that basically describe this one thing that's going on. Just make it easy, ubiquitous. Why? Oh, I need to be exclusive. Why? Do I need to tell people about this thing that I am impressive and it is important and I would never want others to know and also be able to participate in what it is I'm doing because I'm so big and important here. And I'm like, loser! Big L! Fucking jeez. Talk about having a fucking inferiority complex. You get it? Like, that's what that problem is. You know what I mean? It's like, no, I have to defend riggers and I need this money. And it's like, no, you don't. Like the lolly thing. It's like, no, they pretend and we need to fight. And it's like, no, what? You don't need capital. Most of he's arguing for like new fucking techniques of manufacture and automation. That's all it really boiled down into, And then like rah, and I don't feel comfortable, blah blah blah, doing this to achieve it. It's like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. Suck it up. Just like they used to say all in back in the day. No, my ball polishing for my bowling ball. And then, it used to be me with my cloth, just doing the thing. And then now the machine does it. And I'm like, suck it up. Suck it the fuck up. Don't care. It was the same argument even thousands of years ago. There's a donkey or a horse that's going to pull this. It's not multiple slave men and women. And it's like, suck it up. Suck it the fuck up. Don't care. I don't like that my identity over here is going to be challenged. Men are like this and women are like that. And this sexuality is the only acceptable version. Suck it up. It's not. I don't give a fuck at all. Suck it up. Grow a little. Fucking be uncomfortable. Push through. Jeez. Your mother squirted your ass out when she was fucking pregnant. Fucking she was uncomfortable dealing with that. Suck it up. Fucking loser she fucking made. Jeez. I use the word loser because it's like apparently some hackers' bosses are using the word loser all the time. And I'm like, so now I'm using it. It's just to fuck with them. Like the moment they decide to get rid of that word, I'm not going to use it anymore. I just follow their trend. You know what I mean? Hi, losers! Losers. Gabagoos, more like, if I'm being honest. That's my word, though. Yeah. It doesn't really matter. After a point here, it just got bad. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's boring. You know? Like, am I supposed to go do this thing? Nobody's supposed to do. You know what I mean? It's supposed to. Supposed. Supposed. Superposed. Superpositioned. It's kind of what it sounds like to me. Like you're in this flux state. And the only way, if you want to get to the result that you're looking for, is to drop this direction and have this result occur, right? And it's like, nah, it's not really how that works. There are many different avenues of approach getting to that result. Any way that you can get there is good enough, effectively. You know. So I don't know, but then most of the time, those people don't ever really go into the famous and the mainstream media stuff like that. Like if you don't know, there's a person that knows a lot about hydrogen engines, and like he's the pioneer, but he's just all self taught. He's the real machismo. Like he's done the work, right? And it's like, yeah, most people don't know about this motherfucker. The companies and basically most institutions, colleges, don't want to ever teach anyone about this guy. But they're going off of what he has done and introduced into the literature. But they're teaching others off of what this self taught person that in no way has a degree for it is doing. That's what that is. There's a lot of things like that, but people don't know about that. Like, no, I got a book in the blah 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 in 1800, 19 blah 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 blah, and this person's last name blah 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 blah. But in reality, it's like this person is the real thing that you're really actually emulating, if not copying, down to a T as to what it is they figured out. And it's like ubiquitous across the board in those institutions, and they never talk about it. Like Planck. Planck is a big one about that. Like, oh my God, you know, his interns are effectively a bunch of people that got everything about their shit stolen. It's in their autobiography or biographies, right? About what they actually did for experiments and well before it ever got published by him and all this other shit. Like, Planck's a fucking hack. Same thing with all the rest of the cronies that went after Einstein. The only reason why we know about Newton is because ultimately, like, a bunch of people effectively rallied for the person. He was going to go get shoved away. That's a whole history lesson. Yeah. It's a shit show. If you really look at that, like, there's a lot of self-taught people that are the people that actually talked about and or did things like farmers here in America made a lot of incredible engine upgrades, like first and foremost back in the 1800s. And then in towards the early 1900s into World War One, and then they had to scrap a lot of them for excess metal. And then World War Two is kind of a similar story. And like big wigs and institutions that had a lot of money, and corporations too, and the government, of course, helped along, took their fucking things, patented it, and everybody goes along with they're the ones that made it when they never did. But often less talked about history there. There's a lot of farmers here in America that should have their last names on those things because they're the ones that really did it actively for years, sometimes decades, for engines and thermodynamics and performance and more. But it's like, no, this guy. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, this guy. It gets really boring after a while, and I mean that. Like it's despicable. You really start to feel like just a shit person the more you learn about history. Like, no, I like insert whatever person it is, and then you'll look deeply into that side, and then you'll end up realizing it's like, well, they're just a shitty person, aren't they? Like they really are. After a point, like you just start learning about how shit most of the people that you idolize, that are the ones that you are taught in a textbook or in school, are. Like they're not good people. But like you don't want to know that. And others don't want you to know that, right? And it's a problem. And when I learned it, it was like, why in the fuck would I want to pay into this fucking thing? It doesn't make sense after a while. It's disillusioning. Like the illusion that this was all good, because it is. It's an illusion. This our society, our history, all of it is revisionist. Like it's really revisionist. Like a lot of it's quite revisionist. I'm not, but like they'll tell you I am, because it's like I don't know anything about this. See what I mean? Like the immediate, like it's like, did you know about this? Right? And it's like, well, that's revisionist. That didn't happen. My fangirl. And it's like, I'll have to look into it. It's like, actually, so yeah, no, that did happen. And about fucking 20 years before you thought it did. It's like, my fucking, oh! Like, shut up. Shut up. I mean, that's the reason why whenever I hear that challenge, it's like, so you know this, I guess. Okay, whatever. But like then just do the math and effectively get the basics of understanding, and then you'd end up understanding why those individuals that know a thing or two about what I'm talking about would go, "Oh yeah, no, that would work though. That's pretty cool." And I, just put my name on it. Just say you got it from me. That's all you got to do. But they won't. I need to be big. I need to be the one. And that's why I talk about how people hacked me. It's like, there's no way there's this hacker. There's no way. He's just psychosis. And then he's very intelligent and passes logic checks and knows what he's talking about. There's no way any of that's a thing somehow. It's clearly possible and a thing. How deep would that go? Like, how fucking destroyed would our entire community end up being if all of the stuff that had been coming out is really just this motherfucker's? Like, how bad is that going to be for, like, everyone? Like, how much do you stand to lose? Quite a lot. probably a lot of trust in the entire thing, right? Not me. I already, whatever, but like the public and oh my God, and they go with him and well, we wouldn't be, and then but we also understand that, and their money, and then we wouldn't be the. It's like, come on, man. There's no incentive or reason. There's nothing there from me that would be indicative somehow of that being reasonable to assume that they would want to look and stick around and listen to. Everything that you're going to try and use just doesn't make sense. Anyways, but that's the Lemke principle in that one. It's a quantum tunnel of information, but it's literally the definition of conservation of information, which has already been done before. It's just being used this way. But done before in a different way. Okay, so like that particular article is a genuine like different way of doing it than what I would be because this is a laser light thing. That's why it's a Lemke principle. I talked about it during my Lemke principle laser phaser array thing, right? Because it uses light to basically do that, and it creates either instances of superpositional virtual, so that then drop out and then combine into that, and effectively it creates like other light that's around, right, or would have been something, and it makes that go into the wavelength that I'm looking for. So like a Venturi effect, I mean a Bernoulli's principle kind of effect that's Venturi like in that sense, because it rapidly accelerated, but it's a tunnel, of course, so it didn't accelerate, and it's light, so it can't really do that, right? But what it means is that there are fields and that there are photons that are wanting to pop in for those fields, but they can't really do it, right? But if you get a little bit of a seed to start, which is kind of how I imagine it. So it's like this little photon's now starting, right? And it tunneled, and it's like, right. And that collapses other states around it that goes, oh, I'm also this thing. And this is a thing I can turn into. And then that's the Lemke principle. It's a tunnel principle, but it's a field tunnel principle that's very orders of magnitude likely, right? Like very much a thing. So that's why it's a principle. Now the law is a different thing because that's a fundamental force dynamic. It's an intrapedic force dynamic. And so what that means is like things will tunnel in from a fundamental quantum vacuum field and a bunch of noise virtuals that will then create a continual momenta vacuum like pressure, but instead of a vacuum pressure, it doesn't make a pressure, it creates a continual um, transfer of information. So think like Newton's cradle, except as it collapses, it then goes back to a tunnel state or wanting to tunnel. So it goes back to a vacuum and entangled, and then like that's how information passes through in near the membrane vacuum void area field stuff. Like we're in the quantum foam zone, right? Like membrane's the very end of foam, right? And then it goes into potential land, right? But then field, noise, and membrane, which is void. Like void is membrane, like it's just above in the membrane, right? But then it's like there's a lot of stuff before you get there, just a bunch. So eh, good luck on like trying to describe that to most normal people in terms of scaling. But for me, it's like, oh, right, yeah, no, effectively, virtuals have been seen for a long time. We already know that they're quite literally a type of pressure. They're there. It doesn't matter what anyone says or tries to fucking posit like they can't possibly. But we also happen to understand that there are many different interactive and interference types of forces that also go in hand with the foam that's going on, which creates ghost quasis and other forms of field temporaries, as I like to call them. They're temporaries. They're like virtual, but they existed, but then it's very temporary that they did. Which means they pop in and out of existence, and it's very brief. Which is, normal. That's called radiation. pressure, right? Simple stuff. But see, in order to form itself, of course, it decays quite quickly, right? But of course, things are moving around them. It might create a pressure or might suddenly elongate because there's a place for it to go into. So it drains away its energy or it might stick around a little longer. And those are fields of influence, right? That's cloud probabilities, which are causal data set field fluid dynamics of thermodynamic properties in a causal set like manner. Using Michikaku's dimension theories, the fourth dimensional aspect, which is 3 dimensions, past, present, future, which is the causal set, and its own causal set of our 3 dimensions, you start realizing cloud probability factors start looking a lot more thermodynamic and fluid dynamic that depend much more heavily on the fundamental forces. As a result, there's a Lemke law there. They have to transfer information somehow. The posited idea of wormholes is great, but god damn, does that take a lot of energy. But what if it didn't need to? You see what I mean? Like, what if I didn't really need to do anything? What if I converted on the way down or on the way up? What was already there? Vacuum, a void, right? So it's like, right. But like, this information has to transfer. It's like, well, yeah, no, but like, I already converted this, so energy came from that. It didn't go from nothing, right? So it's like, energy's already there. But that allows for it to use a hell of a lot less energy to continue to sustain itself. That's a Lemke law. But instead of needing to ever wormhole or holographic wormhole or tunnel, because it kind of is tunneling, but it sort of isn't. You see what I mean? Like it is tunneling, but it isn't. It's a collapsing almost tunnel, which means it's a superpositional tunnel state that's collapsing until it gets to the point where it's supposed to, more likely than not, in its cloud probability field, ultimately interact in such a way that it interferes so significantly that it has something that we'll view as an occurred result. But we also see it in classical. That's why it's a Lemke law. Turns out we can use this very same phenomena as an entangled-ish superposition, right? It's not really entangled, it's not really a superposition, and it's really just information that's being converted with extra energy, which I talked about several times in my YouTube channel for many of my designs, because obviously energy can be used during this, to then make a occurred result happen, like I talk about for my bespoke atom and particle creations. Which is why it's a Lemke law, right? It's a literal needs to be there for the universe to exist law. You don't get information moving around without it existing. Lemke's law. It's the, instead of conservation of information, it's the conservation of information travel, transfer, information movement, momenta. I'm talking about the description of intrapedic thermodynamic, fluid dynamic momenta. But it's information moving. Sort of like speed is this, but velocity and acceleration are two separate things. And you point A to point B, but if B is also where it starts, velocity 0, blah, blah. But this one turns into, this is like acceleration and information that you knew about this given acceleration from your relative perspective is being given to you. That's what this would be about. It's a literal law of special relativity's information transfer in a quantum momenta manner. Lemke's law. Principles are more about like a Bernoulli's vacuum pressure dynamic of information and or actual particles and ability to be in a less pressurized and resistance area that it wants to go to anyways. And it's seen as a tunnel to us, even though to it it's more of a collapsing vibration sort of tuning fork that suddenly boom, and then it goes over to there. So if you can handle those big, bright, biggity big words, boy, if you can understand this that I'm putting down to you with the big, oh my goodness gracious, massive thesaurus got out words here, like the lolly 4chan post douche fuckerino, then maybe you too will be impressive one day. Suck it, basically, yeah. I mean that. Like, honestly, suck it. You're not impressive at all. You're not. I'm just letting you know. You can swing that back to me all you want, but like nobody's gonna go with the pretentious douchebag. They'll go with me. And I can shout that at you, but I'm not really. Because it's just like this is just sort of how often people work. You never notice that? Like, why would I go with this up his own ass pretentious douchefuck? Or like this guy that's just like, hey, let's be calm. Like, this is basically what this is, and that kind of thing. And like, these are effectively a way to describe this very easily and succinctly. And it would stand the logic test. Kind of stuff, right? For peer review processes. Now then I have to get out the whole, this is some bullshit symbol, some algebra, and then this is what the on and the eing and the field and the whatever is. And then point with the thing, this is a graph thing, and order of magnitude, blah, 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 blah. And this is so, and he, and oh, wow, clap, clap, clap. And moment, and super cool. Uh-huh. I don't give a fuck about this. You guys mean nothing to me practically. I don't even care about this. But like, no, things, guys. I don't care about, and if your opinion was different, you'd need one hell of a good reason for why it would be something I should care about. As I've already gotten to that point of intelligence and ability to know about this stuff that I literally don't really give a fuck. It's like, what's your reasons for why this wouldn't be a thing? Like, honestly, give it to me. Tell me, big brains over there, give me something. You're the ones that know so much more about me, about this, this field of study, not me, right? Tell me. No, it would work. I just don't. That's the thing. It's like I don't care if it's hurrah and you did it and so on. You know what I mean? Like I literally don't give a fuck. It's like I already know this is what it is. I don't really have to have doubt about that. Like when I have doubt, it's because it's like maybe something on the experimental, trying to see if it's a thing. This isn't one of those things. It's literally like it's there automatically. It doesn't even make sense that it's not. Why would this be so hard to see? Some of us worked our ass off. It blows your supersymmetry out of the water, though. I've noticed that. Really? Oh yeah, no, I just love jabbing that knife in every time with them. Hey, fuck your supersymmetry. Go fuck yourself. It's not a thing anymore. Deal with it. That's how fucking It's a bit of a thing, like for real. Like if you know about the rest of my channel and all the other physics that are there, it's like effectively all of it removes supersymmetry, except for astrophysics has become a bit more supersymmetrical to physics that are on the quantum side. Gravity looks a lot more like the nuclears, or the weak and the strong combined, depending on how distance and how much there is, right? And what other forces in terms of light and electromagnetic might be going on nearby. And so it's still super symmetrical in that aspect. But otherwise, I often don't look at supersymmetry as something that you should think about as being something that's true. Just because it feels like a way to effectively balance an equation that people didn't measure properly the first time and didn't look at correctly the first time because, of course, the special nature of what they were doing and the people that they were involved with essentially meant that it was like, yeah, but I don't like the idea of it being as certain and as determinable and like observable and all that it is possibly. And it's like, yeah, I don't really care though. Like, it doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? It's like, if you look at that, this is a way to effectively allow for information and like to have this given separate dimensional aspect in a uncertain, non-observable place for which it occurs. And it's like, have you thought about these things that could ultimately definitely solve your equation on this side without needing a supersymmetry? And it works better than that? Will you fucking shut? Oh, come on, man. I've been staring at this forever. I don't care. This is simple as this. Do that. Simple. Easy. Understandable. What's the big deal? What you have now effectively has been showing off that supersymmetrical can be solved without needing to be a supersymmetrical. But when they made it, it made sense to do that because, of course, the test they had would have it lend itself to that at the time. I'm not going to fucking go after them because that made sense. I'm going to go after us, the here and the now, because it's like, no, we should see this now. We should finally go like, whoa, 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 wait a second. What are we doing? There's other ways to fucking solve this. And what we're seeing for our observations has that really kind of like more likely than that. It looks nice. It's a nice looking equation. I love it. But this makes more sense and it's less complicated than that. It, however, though, means that's like, well, the way you're directly trying to observe something is piss poor at best. You know what I mean? Like, it really genuinely starts to look like that. And it's like, I've seen several articles come out. We might have some issues with our detectors and sensors right now for not allowing for a denoising of that given information in a steady state sort of setup, or at least expected probability of this given state of this sensor. Because it's like, it's still made out of a bunch of fucking atoms and molecules. Why wouldn't you put that in that? In your calculations and how it is that you run them through your programs. I've said this many times before that article, those articles came out, but it was like, oh, what do you know? So you're also on my side, huh? Because it's pretty boring after a bit. Because it's like, no, no, no. What you have there effectively means that you never measured that really that well or properly. And smashing things while cool isn't exactly like going to give you those results that you're looking for in terms of real genuine measurement. Now, there are other ways that I've posited to measure, and you have your own as well. Then I've also put out things on my YouTube for like the electron roundness. I was like, yeah, but you didn't really look at that the right way. Here's a better way to look at that. Right, and it's like, why aren't you using? And then I did the thermal, for momenta measurement, and I, added PBS time, and it was like, just do this. Why do, why do you? Are you not? Like that makes total sense. Why wouldn't you just do this? I don't. Um, I mean, it would accurately, in an indirect way, without inputting any more information in terms of energy, measure what energy is there in that given area. But it uses the Lemke principle for what it's worth. And it is. It's using a Lemke law, informational transfer to surrounding areas, and Lemke principles to do it in an indirect manner, to measure that result of occurrence. So, it's always going to be bleeding a certain amount out, but there's always going to be a certain amount coming in, right? And that's quantum, in terms of vacuum, but then also like any light and so on. It goes on. Which you'd be able to see in real time how that works. But that means also it's like quantum relativity to itself and to others is a thing. It's like, why did that change? You you do know that that doesn't just go away. Like things are really fast moving down there, right? Like it doesn't just disappear, you know? But it's like, where's quantum relativity in your fucking physics, in your math? And there's like, I see an article, there is no such thing as quantum relativity. You are just the worst kind of idiot, aren't you? No, no, no. Things speed. No, because there's no quantum gravity. Let me just take a look at you real fast. You, you like you like to sound like that would make sense, huh? But did you ever observe those words that came out of your mouth to yourself, but then others' reaction to you saying them? Are you gonna? You're stalling. You're gonna tell us what, and then just go to. Space and time, of course, is a given type of different informational transfer between particles, fields, and membranic areas, and baryonic to fermionic, classical that we can sense more easily, and a larger mass constant, which means more entropedically they clump together and stick around, right? Well, yeah, right. So fields that we will observe as fields will become far more like as if they are simply not particles, but in no way are you at the same size as them. You have no idea, for their given life of lived anything, what a virtual, a quasi, a ghost, or any of it really ultimately amounts to in terms of any pressure dynamics and speed. Speed changing given reactions and its own version of relative space-time sizing and scaling. Not to mention the result of influence, which is very much determined, kind of like we're at a galaxy and universe size scale. As constants will change. The fields that are around there also are now more of a thermodynamic field instead of a space-time big boy thing field that we'll observe. It's a different type of field that acts like resistives and speeds and so on in terms of easy to go through or not, which acts very much the same way as any quantum relativity gravity, which then starts to become much more entropedic in its design. Go be salty somewhere else, fucking douche. You just missed it, for what it's worth. You did. It's like, it's just a bunch of soupy fucking shit that you don't see very well. That's all it is. It's moving around just on a very different scale. It still has quantum gravity. You just don't see it as the pressure differences and movements that there are there at different, you know, observable field area of effects and influence. So, like weak and nuclear strong are very different down there. They're not different in that they don't exist, in that they've changed their values. They're different in how large of an influence and how significant it can be is. And the reason why we view them with atoms like this is because they're atoms. And we have to view them with multiple atoms. In no way is it the same, though, for a little tiny quark. You fuck up. It's very small to very large. It has its own, like a Wi-Fi hotspot or router, where it gives a given area of tuning fork influence. There's different already there pressures moving forward and backwards, produces a plug of compressed and a lower pressure vacuum behind drag styles. It then happens to have a various clumping and a greater degree of influence at the front or off to the sides, depending on its given type of frequency in the field we're talking about that it vibrates at. Then there's cloud probabilities, and it starts to swirl around, and things move in various manners that start to look fermionic and baryonic. Which then means they can be condensed and expanded, lost, quotation marks, but not really. It's just information that's moved into a different type of information. You know, like this vibration of a Wi-Fi antenna to this now meaning with this amplification 1 and 0 through a given silicon transistor. This goes buzz, 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 buzz like this, like a radio wave antenna back in the day. They go through this amplificatory process from energy from the wall, right? And it's like, where's this extra energy coming from? Well, the Big Bang was quite a lot, but okay. Let me just go, is there vacuum energy over there? Is there less stuff over there pulling me that direction? You fucking retard. What did you just say? Did you hear the words? Did you hear them? Let me just look at this membrane that's effectively like a complete void almost, right? But it's like got a bunch of fields, obviously. It's transferring information somehow, right? It's got to. Lemke law solves it. Simple. This essentially means quantum gravity is really just an entropy, like I've tweeted about already, pump. That's right. It clumps itself together in a more ordered state to allow for greater and greater degrees of being able to do something quicker in a more ordered and less chaotic state, and sticks around for longer because it wants to do that. It then transfers information to other things, it'll lose it, and eventually things dissipate, or they, go away, or they come back in, right? And eventually you'll get to, boom, big, big things like us. Quantum gravity, bro. But let them just say words that think that are things. That's not what that would. I'm gonna go jump off a cliff. Go do it. I don't care. I don't. Please. Go fucking end yourself. Quantum gravity's been easy as fuck for a long time. I never really saw why you had an issue, especially once you knew about a Planck length. It was like, are you sure you conceptualize that scale well? Like, I mean that. It literally means that quantum relativity exists. Fields don't need to be, to us, big particles. Those are clumped together masses. You get it? They started moving fast enough they had to clump together in a more ordered state. That kind of thing. Think nebula go spinny spin burr burr pressure pressure star. Behold quantum gravity. Shockingly, so easy. You don't even need a bunch of pressure or speed to really do it, but why do you think particle smashing gives you this view of it with borons? It literally proves that you don't need supersymmetry. The moment I saw the Higgs, I was like, oh, so supersymmetry isn't real. It literally means what I'm saying is factually how that works. That's factually correct. That's how the math would check out. So that's why I just abandoned all of you on that side. That's how I did that. I was like, oh, well, then you don't fucking work anymore. If they got a boron, then there's no way that you work. Supersymmetry was never correct. It's not their fault from back in the past, but it's our fault for continuing like it is something. You know? That's how I view it, anyways. Anyways, I'm gonna move on because it's like, oh, it's been an hour and a half of this. But that's why it's like, yeah, no, quantum relativity makes total sense. To you, it's malarkey because of blah, 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 something, something, a bunch of doesn't actually work anymore in any actual way. And you're modifying your standard model to try and correct this issue, like you did with gravity. I mean, they're even yeeting out gravity in astrophysics to try and get around like basic fucking shit that you should have seen. Like if you look at my prop video, there's just like, I know it get long-winded, but it's effectively the same thing. Right? It creates a higher pressure and a lower pressure, and then converting a baryonic state of which you never really notice this, but light's more baryonic than you think. All right, so it's really close together, and it can do that because there's a shit ton everywhere. Like if you don't know, it looks black to us, but it's insanely bright. The universe is insanely bright. There are photons everywhere, crisscrossing all directions, dimensionalities, everything basically. There's just a fucking huge condensed state of photons that exist, and we're moving through that. But like you don't notice that because it's like, well, they'll still keep going off that direction and there's no reflection, right? But it's like a big huge clump of photons is everywhere. And then it's like Neutron somehow magicked up not being affected through a baryonic state, along with neutrinos. There's no, in any way, quantum tunnel phenomenon that exists ever, right? That's an expansionatory as it then interacts. Gravity then spins, twists and turns of the turbulent forces of gravitational fields. Like the very definition of my quantum field stuff I'm talking about, you fucking idiot. It literally looks exactly like, to me, it's exactly what I'm saying down to the quantum level. I already have it worked out down to astrophysics. Works. Done. Perfect. Beautiful. The math checks out. Easy. But you never saw it, right? But it's like as it spins while it's spinning, gravity then, of course, already was moving a given direction. So it was already clumped together, right? But it's like, right. There's already light there that's going to eat and then transfer and then move, and more neutrons head one way, more neutrinos head one way, and they expand with more light heading off one way than another. They compress that, they spin, take, and then accelerate it one direction, more or less, kind of. But really, for me, it's expanded and it condensed the spin. Instead of making it seem like there's more mass and acceleration, it actually just cooled it off. And it has to spend energy to do that, called gravity, you fuck ups. They use gravity to make sure it can stay clumped together more easily. Energy came from somewhere, obviously. It's called entropy, movement from the Big Bang, or whatever version you want to go with. It started moving, then it did this. There's no extra energy from nowhere. Then there's light there, dude. Expansionary light, right? Then there's compressed light on one side. You're moving through it, but it's not just light though, because of course we have fields, right? We have electromagnetic filaments stretching between galaxies, but also stars, and huge electrostatic pressures, which shockingly, somehow, magically don't in any way fuck around with the gases in our nebula, any of the neutrons or neutrinos, or anything we're traveling through in space and time, huh? They don't. The fundamental force just they don't just gone now. Just fart them away, I suppose. Sorry, suck it up. They do, obviously. And they play a major role, a pivotal role. Gravity also does the same thing. And then they can crosstalk. Just like the little Wi-Fi antenna, tuning forks, different gravity, but like they're still coming together, but it's a little bit more resistive. Or ooh, hit the right frequency. Oh shit, we're accelerating faster. Right? Pretty simple. But we're not fully done, of course. Because there's other stuff there. There's a membrane, there's void, there's fields. Right? And we're in a nice little, you know, kind of orbit, Oort cloud kind of thing. So it's like we don't have that level of insane kind of, you know, electrostatic and more chaotic kind of and more baryonic that exists. We're very consistently fermionic in our little area. Right? Like that's fermionic. We're a fermionic zone. Baryonic starts happening in the real interstellars and intergalactics, which doesn't seem like it would be there, but that's because you just never imagined that it would be like that. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that it's not there. It just means you never realize that there's still a bunch of photons in all the ways in between every star, right? And same thing with all the little electrons trying to freaking get themselves around. All the little neutrons trying to freaking baryonic and then fermionic and as they're cooling off and then condensing back in as they're traveling one and they're bunging up and quantum no gravity, not quantum gravity, but gravity starts to interact with this, and then of course there's little waves in its own right, and then some of them start traveling more one way or another way, and there's these literal neutron highways, there's flows of this, not just in our nebula but also in our electron sea, and that's why it's an ocean to me. It's a big soupy ocean. So it's like, no, there's a little less pressure here. There's a river that flows. There's a current like this. There's this kind of gravity. It's already, you know what I mean? That's why I talked about it as a prop in that. Because it like makes total sense. It's using gravity as a prop. And then thermodynamic result of expansionary to effectively move, right? It's converting something, right? Which is its want to fling apart and not clump together. That's what it does. That's why we have dark matter, dark energy. It's thermodynamic. You just never thought about it on an astrophysics size. It's like, no, 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 of course it's going to like, and then it expands as it, blows off, right? And then of course, there's lensing from gravity. There's lots of stuff like that effectively means it kind of, funnels a little bit, and then it then expands, right? And then we have vortices from like the props, right? We have a lot of stuff like that that effectively starts happening. And that creates these little turbulence and drags and less efficiencies and so on. If you look at it the way I do, it's just a big soupy ocean. And gravity is interacting with bigger, more massive things, but then those things are, of course, changing. They're condensing, they're compressing, they're accelerated, they bunch into something, they smack. There's some weak interaction, there's some strong sometimes. There's a lot of stuff like that, and then it expands, right? And now, photons don't like to often, do like, conversions, right? Like they like to stay photons. That's pretty much what they are, right? But the problem is, I mean, there's so many neutrons in a given area. There's so much electrical, potential over a given light year of distance that they're going to travel through. There's a big bunch of all this other, electron stuff that's around. You'll end up seeing that, like, it'll, you know, become a converted thing. Like the photon will lessen in luminosity, and some of it gets changed into a given mass, which is a bit weird for me because I was like, what the fuck is this mass? For my math, like literally, I was like, what the hell is this? The fuck is this? Like, actually, I mean that. And I was like, this has to be something. It genuinely has to be something, right? Like, something of some kind, right? For the life of me, I couldn't figure it out. So, long story short, eventually just turned into like, oh, well, that's stupid. I should have saw that. I did eventually. Uh, I'm not stalling. They're not quarks. They're fields, right? They're quantum soup fields, like I was talking about. That then effectively, well, not effectively, they collapse in such a way that they make a very specific. So you're already trying to predict what I'm saying. So stop. Yeah, I feel that fucking shit, and it bothers me. Uh, Good way to put this. Well, it's a mass particle, but it's not really. See, like the field turns into something that's not a particle, but then it transfers its given idea of what it could be for a particle to various nebula gases and electrons along with neutrons, and then it collapses out into like a bunch of acceleratory. No, it's not accelerate. It drops down back into a void, but it's doing it because it's decaying. They're effectively like something that doesn't exist for very long, like at all. It's not like a Lemke particle or anything like that. They're already known. I just don't know what they're like. They're not. No, borons would be nice. You know what I mean? But like that's not what they are. They would technically have a ghostly boron attached to them, which, okay, but like that's not what that's really is, right? It'd be like a weakly interacting kind of thing, but temporarily it's much more strong force. Yeah, no, well, yeah, no, it'd be a, let's see here, this would be two bottoms, a right hand spin with a fucking, what was that thing? Strange. Yeah, strange. It'd be a strange with a two bottom attached to it that then has a right hand spin. And then produces a big wide field that then drops off and then decays its boron ghost that technically existed but didn't really into a given weakly interacting neutron or a bunch of acceleratory blue shifting to photons. So it's like I don't know what that's called though, but it's mass, which is what that would be, right? But that's pretty simple for me to understand. But it's like yeah, pretty much. That's what it does, and you can see that like astrophysics wise, it's all over their pictures of galaxies. It's literally all over them. Like it's a curvature-ish, but it's also an excitation of a blue shift more often than not. It's a type of field that you can see. And then on top of it, it like showcases where one's accelerating away from us, we have more neutrons that we get hit by, and then the other side, if it's accelerating towards us, we have fewer neutrons. And so like you can know, and it's all over their like neutron mapping of the galaxy and the James Webb's telescope already in their astrophysics data that they already have. That's why I was like, well, that that makes sense. Like they literally proved that I was right. So I was like, well, thanks for the already done work that I could just use to say that I'm correct about this. But it's like, why didn't you see it? It makes total sense. How come you don't notice it? How come you can't observe your observations correctly and interpret them properly? You're just like antagonizing me. I do, because they're always big people. I'm better than you, and you don't know what you're talking about. My PhD means. Meanwhile, me, smackdown, get body slammed, get wrecked, fucking oh yeah, get fucking utterly learned and educated by me, a person that has none of your qualifications and saw something you never did. I am the professor of self-learned. Get wrecked, bitch. You're about to get smacked down in this ring, motherfucker. What are you gonna do, tiny shrimp? I'm 6'4", bitch. What you gonna do? I'm a beefcake and you don't know. Oh, I'm sure. It's a good thing I came with tools. I observe that your mother never loved you enough. Don't say that. And actually, that little tiny speck on your knee worries you tremendously. Don't fuck off. Who are you? Smash! Have you ever known and noticed about this given phenomena in your everyday life that people do around you? It's because they don't like you. You put off that vibe. The fuck? One, two, three. Ah, champion! The professor of fucking bullshit. I'm not doing this. No! Fuck off! No! I don't like this guy. Who told them about this? He doesn't. No one said anything. He just learned. Have you seen why it is thermodynamic soupy pressures still exist in the Planck and below levels? Making it so quantum gravity and relativity still exists. Don't you dare, you bitch! Behold! All of your observations point to exactly me being correct in all ways and you being wrong. Want to fight about it? No! Go publish a. How are you gonna publish a paper? What the fuck am I on about? What the. Go kill yourself, I guess, first. Oh, me! How about you over there? Fucking douche. Jesus, fuck, I have to fucking get you to learn something. They should have noticed from the get-go. Since you have the big brains and the PhDs and you did all the work. I mean, god damn it. Get fucking smacked down! Oh yeah! Champion! Bell! Oh yeah! I'm never getting enough! Look at me! I'm faster than light now because my quantum inertia vacuum drive that's on my channel. It's in reality. I bet you someone tries to steal that and sell it to someone as if they're the ones that, and then they'll go like, "No, because I got the patent, and I came up with it first. I never noticed." And I'm smart and big brain. I'm good. Not you. And meanwhile, let's go down the rabbit hole of the information highway. Please don't do that. I'm gonna fucking literally look at my satellite hacking video. I can literally, in all aspects, track you everywhere. There is no multiple proxies, VPNs, and onions. I can still get to you. Even if you have another computer that goes to this computer and says, do something, I can still find you. Please go fuck off. I didn't even do all that. Oh, so you were there. I see. This will be easier than I thought, investigators. Let's get this done. You're not supposed to do top secret spy stuff. Like, fuck's sake. Oh. Hi. Yeah, no, this is not what we're doing. We don't do this. We've never. I don't know what you're talking about. We don't. No, 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 no. Oh, mother. I told you they hacked me back in China. Ah, shit. I'm here. What? Massive fucking. So. Oh, dear. That's a lot of fuck. Look at this. You broke this many laws for no reason. You owe me all of this money. You knew. You pain and suffering bastards to me. You tortured me. You did all this shit. You ruined my life. You stole all my ideas. These are mine. My name should be on that. That money should be mine. I can prove it without any doubt whatsoever. And also, all of you motherfuckers are being watched like this. Don't you want to be on my side now? Yeah, I thought so. Go after him. Go after them all. Ah! You know what I mean? You get a sue. You get a sue. You get a lawsuit. Here's some more sues and lawsuits. We're gonna go after you for fucking just straight up illegal activity, dick. And so are you over there, agency. Look at the massive conspiratorial web here. Oh, fucking poop. I told you. I can prove it. Just give me some time. Like, honestly, some investigators. Come on, what the fuck is this? But I don't want to be caught doing that. Yes, but I want to catch you. Look, I literally learned about so many physics to basically say, I told you so, and you owe me. Get fucking wrecked. Smackdown complete. Total victory. World champion forever. Yeah. I'm just gonna go over to like another fucking like planet because this would effectively mean that I'm essentially in a massive goddamn conspiracy web problem. That would mean like most of the world would be in on it, or at least a good damn number. I wouldn't know after a while what to trust. Truthfully, I don't want to live with like like the Truman Show. Like, where the fuck would Truman go live if the entire world knew what was going on with him? Like, who's on that planet like that he wants to fucking deal with? There's not a single good person there. You know what I mean? I want to leave. Nah, I don't know how deep, but like the more you investigate, the more deep that really will start to get, and then I will absolutely be involved in that. Instead of like, no, there's multiple people. It's like I'm just talking about me from Chandler and all these other things that proceeded to happen and more. If you're ultimately someone that got hit by that, there you go. But otherwise, it's like this has nothing to do with you. Don't make this about you. I'm the victim here. That's what that is. Stop trying to turn it into that. And I want to get rid of that. I want to stop being a victim, but there's like no real way without a bunch of people coming together. So I don't think it's ever going to happen. But anyways, that is the baryonic to fermionic fusion. See ya, bye.